Welcome back to another edition of the Saturday to Sunday Football Podcast. I am Paul Perdichizzi, and thank you for joining me. As always, week 0 of the college football season is in the books. Week 1, the real kickoff to college football, is just a few days away. And here at Saturday to Sunday, we are concluding our summer scouting series. If you have missed the previous 3 episodes, I shared my initial running back rankings and scouting reports, my initial tight end rankings and scouting reports, and then most recently, my initial wide receiver rankings and scouting reports, taking an early look at that 2026 NFL draft. We conclude the summer scouting series with the most important position in football. It's the quarterback position, saving the best for last. I have been very ho-hum down, whatever you want to call it, on the running back, wide receivers, and tight ends, looking ahead from now for the 2026 NFL draft. But the quarterback class looks and has the potential to be one of the 3 to 4 best in my life. Okay, so that just puts into perspective. Not saying it's going to be. A lot changes between now and next April. A lot of guys choose to go back to college because of the portal, because of NIL money. So there's a lot of things that can move the narrative. But if everybody came out who I watched and they live up to the upside and the potential that I think they possess, I think this has the potential to rival the 2004 NFL draft that had Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, maybe not 3 guys at that level who are all going to end up in the Hall of Fame one day. But I think it's also could rival 2024's NFL draft that had Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. I think you have the potential to have 5 or 6 first-round picks, and there's a whole bunch of other guys who are in that day 2 mix that could still potentially move their way up. So it all depends on who comes out, who stays, who develops, who doesn't, who takes a step back. But looking at it from 9 months in advance, this class looks to be and have the upside to be an all-time great class. And it is way more currently looked at in higher regards than the running back, wide receiver, or tight end rooms in terms of the 2026 NFL draft. So let's start here. I'll share my initial rankings in order. Then we'll go scouting reports alphabetical. I'll review my rankings at the end of the show, and then also give my quarterback watch list as well. So these are my initial 2026 NFL draft quarterback rankings for the draft eligible quarterbacks. At number 1, it is Arch Manning out of Texas. Number 2, it is Lenoris Sellers out of South Carolina. Number 3, it is Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. Number 4 is Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. Number 5 is Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. Number 6 is Drew Aller out of Penn State. Number 7 is John Mateer out of Oklahoma. Number 8 is Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. Number 9 is Carson Beck out of Miami. Number 10 is Nico Iamaleava out of UCLA now. Number 11 is Josh Hoover out of TCU. Number 12 is Miller Moss out of Louisville. And rounding out my top 13 is Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. So there are my quarterback ranks 1 through 13. Some other guys that I have in the scouting notebook and in my rankings notebook that I've watched in the past. Guys like Jalen Daniels out of Kansas, Connor Wegman now out of Houston, Noah Fafita out of Arizona, and Tyler Van Dyke now out of SMU. So you will see scouting reports on each of those 4 guys. You'll see them at the bottom of my quarterback ranks, but that's only because I have detailed scouting reports on them from last year. I updated them a little bit, so that's why they're still there. But there'd be other quarterbacks that if I did a detailed scouting report on, they would definitely push ahead of those guys. So really, it's my top 13 here that you're really focusing in on. So let's get right into it. Start talking about these quarterback prospects. Going to go through them in alphabetical order right now. So let's start with the quarterback, Drew Aller out of Penn State, the senior, 6'5", 237 pounds. A lot of people thought he was going to declare last year. Potentially could have been in the mix to be the second quarterback taken after Cam Ward. In 2024, he had 3,327 passing yards, 66.5 completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He also chipped in with 302 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. What do I like about Allard's game? Great size and frame. Athleticism, mobility, and rushing. I would probably just classify it as average in terms of he offers a lot near the red zone, but he's not he's not fast. He's not a guy who's going to be a lot of design runs. You could do stuff near the red zone with him, but I would say the athleticism, the mobility, and the rushing ability is average. He's got great arm talent in terms of velocity and strength to make any NFL throw. I would say right now the accuracy and ball placement is probably just average. He's got good play strength, toughness, and physicality. And that's where you see it shine in terms of the rushing ability. He's tough to bring down. Almost think of like a young Big Ben coming out of Miami of Ohio. That's kind of what Drew Allard reminds me of in terms of his rushing capabilities. He improved his decision-making over the last couple of years, so I would classify it as good decision-making, good mental processing, who can work through progressions. Things that I have some concerns on. I still think there's a lot of inconsistency in his game. I think Penn State's had a great run game the entire time he's been there. While he's got average athleticism and could be a red zone weapon in terms of his rushing ability, I don't see a lot of agility. I don't see a lot of escapability in the pocket. And that is a little concerning for me, especially at the next level if he's behind a poor offensive line. I also see him at times struggling to throw outside the numbers a little bit, inconsistent, a little up and down with that ball placement and accuracy. Handling pressure is something I'm a little concerned with. Inconsistency in terms of the vertical accuracy and the ball placement. He obviously has the talent to make those throws, but a little bit inconsistent in terms of when he starts to put the ball deep down the field. Mechanics and footwork, I thought some inconsistencies in terms of when he's handling pressure. So those are the areas, a lot of inconsistency in his game, but he obviously checks off a lot of boxes, the size, the frame, he fits the prototype. He's got enough athleticism to not be a statue in the pocket. So there's aspects of his game that I think are intriguing, but I still want to see a lot of refinement from his game. Right now, I have a late round 1, early round 2 grade on him. I think he's got the upside to become a starting quarterback in a pro-style offense that incorporates some RPO concepts, especially near the goal line or in the red zone. Next up, a lot of people thought he was going to be the first quarterback taken in the 2025 NFL draft. Last season did not go nearly as well. I'm talking about Carson Beck, now out of Miami, the redshirt senior, 6'4", 233 pounds. Last year for Georgia, he had 3,485 passing yards, 64.7 completion percentage, 28 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. What I like about Beck's game still, very good size and frame. Athleticism is probably just average, but he's not a statue in the pocket. He's got good arm talent in terms of the velocity and strength. I would say the accuracy and the ball placement is just average right now, but he does throw with good touch and anticipation. He's a good mental processor. He can work through progressions. He's got clean mechanics and footwork, and he's got a quick release. Things that after last season, I have some reservations about Beck's game. You don't see a lot of mobility. You see average athleticism, but can he move around the pocket a little bit? Can he play off structure and throw on the run? We know how important that is in today's NFL game. He needs to show improvement in terms of his ability to handle pressure. You see a lack of creativity or playmaking skills when things break down. Teams want quarterbacks that can be playmakers. It doesn't mean they have to be Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels in terms of their rushing ability and their athleticism, but you also want to be able to see a guy that can make plays when things break down around them. You didn't see a lot of that out of Carson Beck. To me, he's a traditional pocket passing quarterback right now, and I saw some inconsistencies in terms of his decision-making last year that led to a lot of turnovers. Right now, I have his NFL role as a backup quarterback, but still possesses the physical traits to develop into a starting quarterback, best in a pro style or spread offense. Right now, I have a round 3-4 grade on him. I think it's going to be one of those scenarios where if he bounces back, he pushes his way back into the round 2 mix, outside shot at round 1. If he struggles this year with inconsistency, I think it pushes him out of the top 100, and we're talking about a guy going somewhere in round 4, round 5. So right now I looked at that as it can go either way. I settled in on a round 3, round 4 grade for now, but I think his season will move that needle up to day 2, round 2, or push it down to round 4, round 5. Next up, Josh Hoover out of TCU. He's a redshirt junior, 6'2", 200 pounds. Last year, he had 3,949 yards passing, 66.5 completion percentage, 27 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Right now, I classify him as an early day 3 prospect as a backup quarterback with the upside and physical traits to potentially develop into a starting quarterback. I look at him, I see average size and frame, but good arm talent in terms of velocity and strength. He can make any NFL throw, good accuracy and ball placement. He throws with good anticipation and touch. He's a good pocket. He has good pocket presence and mental processing, and I love his ability to throw from different arm angles and platforms. My concern with Hoover's game right now is you do not see a lot of athleticism. So he's mostly confined to the pocket. You don't see mobility. You don't see a lot of rushing ability. There's been some ball security questions in terms of fumbles and interceptions. You don't see a lot of playmaking ability with the ability to throw on the run and some inconsistencies in his game. I look at him right now, like I said, with an early day 3 grade on Josh Hoover. Next up, very polarizing prospect, and it's almost surprising to see him where I have him in my ranks because it looked like he was on the trajectory to be that guy. Like we're talking about top 10, top 5. I'm talking about Nico Iamaleava out of UCLA, former of Tennessee. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's 6'6", 215 pounds. Last year in 2024, Nico had 2,616 yards passing, 63.8 completion percentage, 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Also showed his athleticism and rushing ability with 358 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. Great size, slender frame, has to get that up to like the 225 range. He's got very good arm talent in terms of strength and velocity to make every throw outside the numbers or vertically down the field. He's got a quick release. He can play off structure and throw from different arm angles. I would say I would classify the accuracy in the ball placement as just average right now with some areas for improvement. Things that I want to see over this year that can get him back on that path to being that first round talent. Inconsistency in terms of the vertical ball placement and his accuracy. Inconsistent in terms of his pocket presence and mental processing. He's got to show the ability to work through progressions at a much faster rate. Inconsistent footwork, especially when dealing and handling pressure. So those are areas that I want to see Iamaleava improve upon this upcoming season. I have a backup quarterback grade right now as that round 3, round 4 prospect, but the upside and the physical traits develop into a starter, best in a spread offense that uses RPO concepts and attacks vertically down the field. Very similar to Carson Beck. And Nico's only a redshirt sophomore, so he might have years to still kind of improve his draft stock here. But I look at him very similar to Carson Beck. I have them very similar in my grades, in my rankings, very similar in terms of my current draft projection. To me, it's one of those things where if Nico comes out, it means he has a great year and he has catapulted his stock into the top 50 mix. If he has a struggling year, he's not going to declare. He's going to stay in school, maybe transfer again, who knows, but he's not going to come out. So if he has a round 3, round 4 grade from like the draft advisory board or what people are saying to him, I don't think we're going to see him come out in the NFL draft as a redshirt sophomore. So if he has a great year, he kind of catapults his draft stock into the top 50 mix. I think we could see him come out. If he has a weak year, I think he probably stays in school. So I don't actually think he'll be a round 3, round 4 prospect for the 2026 NFL draft, but that's just where I would put him right now with his inconsistencies, but his traits and his upside that he currently possesses. But I think it'll be either stay in school or have a great year that he's now in the top 50 mix again, and then he'll come out and be a part of the 2026 NFL draft. He does remind me a lot of Colin Kaepernick when Colin Kaepernick came into the league out of Nevada and really took the league by storm. There are the size, the frame, the physical traits remind me a lot of a young Colin Kaepernick when he was coming out of college. Next up, Cade Klubnik out of Clemson. He's the senior. He's 6'1", 204 pounds. Klubnik last year had 3,639 yards passing, 63.4 completion percentage, 36 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions, and added another 7 touchdowns on the ground and 463 yards rushing. Right now, I have a round 1 grade on him. I did not think I was going to like his film when I studied it as much as I did, but Klubnik really impressed me when I really honed in on just watching him. To me, he's a starting quarterback, best in a spread offense that utilizes RPO concepts and gets the quarterback on the move, moving the launch point, stuff like that to make up for his little lack of size. Average size and frame. It's not like 5'11", but 6'1" on the smaller side. But I would say, average to slightly below average size and frame. Good arm talent in terms of velocity and strength. He can make every NFL throw. He's got really good to great athleticism, movement skills, rushing ability, and mobility to throw on the run, play off structure, and throw from different arm angles and platforms, which is why I think you need to get him in an offense that's moving that launch point and stuff. So he's not always confined to the pocket where he has the offensive lineman and the defensive guys right there, maybe making it a little bit harder for him to see the entire field. So move the launch point. He throws with great touch. He's got good poise, quick release, good mental processor, works through progressions really fast. A lot of things to like about Klubnik's game. Things that I want to see improve. He's got to get that weight up. He's got to get to at least like 215. 215, 220 would be ideal, but at least 215 right now. He's his numbers at 204. I think we got to improve upon that. Other things, I want to see him throw with a little bit more anticipation. I think he throws a really good touch, but I don't think the anticipatory throws are on the film just yet. So I want to see a little bit more in terms of his anticipation. And I think there's some inconsistency in terms of the vertical ball placement and accuracy. He's a really intriguing guy that I think the guys over at ESPN, Matt Miller, Jordan Reed, they both have him as their number one quarterback in the class. So I think that's something that resonates. Todd McShay has him at the top of his quarterback rankings. He's not including Arch Manning right now. So there's a lot of people that are really in on Cade Klubnik's game. So I think he's one of those guys that right now is looked at as a round one guy. Can he hold that through this year? Obviously, these seniors who've been around a lot, they are scrutinized the most sometimes in terms of we expect them to really show improvement in their final year in college. If he does that, I think we're looking at a guy who will go round one for sure next April in the 2026 NFL draft. Next up, Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. He's the redshirt sophomore, 6'2", 210 pounds, average size and frame, good athleticism, rushing ability and mobility, very good in terms of his ball placement and accurate, especially when he's throwing on the run and playing off structure. He's got good arm talent in terms of velocity and strength to make every throw. He's a good decision maker, and he shows good toughness, especially inside the pocket. I look at him, things I want to see him improve upon this year. Post-snap reads, playing in the confines of the pocket and not always looking to move the launch point and get out of the pocket as soon as his first read's not there. At times, there's some inconsistency in terms of the accuracy and the ball placement. He almost is more comfortable throwing when he's on the move. And so we need to see that accuracy and ball placement as well from inside the pocket, as well as we see it when he's on the move and playing off structure. I want to see him handle pressure a little bit better and just stay in that pocket a little bit longer are things I'm looking for him to improve upon. But he's a young player, redshirt sophomore. I think we're going to see growth in a lot of these, and a lot more of the offense is going to run through him with Cam Scatterbu no longer there to be that focal point of that offense. I have a late round 1 to mid round 2 grade on him right now. I think he's got the upside to be a starting quarterback, best in a spread offense or heavy play action pro type offense to take those vertical shots down the field. Next up, Arch Manning. And I debated whether or not I should put him in this, put him not, but I have never not put a guy who I thought warranted to be on this list because I don't think he might come out. And it's possible he doesn't come out, but he's draft eligible. He can come out. So I have a detailed scouting report on him. He sits atop my number one spot in terms of my quarterback rankings initially for the 2026 NFL draft. He's a redshirt sophomore out of Texas. Arch Manning is 6'4", 215 pounds. In his limited games last year when he took over for an injured Quinn Ewers, he threw for 939 yards, a 67.8 completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. So let's talk about things that obviously right now we just don't know. He doesn't have a lot of starting experience. So that's obviously something that's a concern, but he's going to get that before he gets to the NFL. He's going to play a lot this year, and I think there's a good possibility he comes back one more year. That's kind of the Manning way. We'll see. We just didn't see a lot this year where he had to handle pressure. So that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing a full season, a full body of work from Arch Manning, how he does handling pressure. I expect him to handle it well, but right now we just haven't seen a lot of it to really make an assessment on it. And I want to see his ability to play off structure. This wasn't a lot of moments where he had to play off structure in the limited games that he was. So how does he handle that at the next level? We'll get glimpses of it for the rest of the time he is at Texas. But what do we like about Arch Manning? He's got good size at 6'4". I would classify the frame as probably just average right now at 215. I think he could definitely bump that up to like the 220 to 225 range. He's got good athleticism, mobility, and rushing ability. That's something that neither of his uncles, Peyton or Eli, had. So right off the box, he checks off that the modern day quarterback, teams want him to be athletic, be able to move. You could do more with them. Arch has that in terms of his repertoire. So it's good to see the athleticism, mobility, and rushing ability. He's got very good arm talent in terms of velocity and strength. He's not Josh Allen, but I still would where it's elite or rare, but he's got very good arm talent to make every NFL throw. He'll push it into tight windows. He'll push it vertically down the field or outside the numbers. He's got very good accuracy and ball placement in what we've seen. He's a really good mental processor, shows good pocket awareness, pocket presence, works through his progressions, very clean as you would expect. Footwork, clean mechanics, compact release, shows the ability to throw with good anticipation. Those are all things, and touch. Those are all things that Arch, I think, does really well just in the limited sample size we saw for him. I think he's got the potential to be a franchise quarterback, best in a pro or spread style offense. I think he's right now, if he declared, and he just played the way he played in the limited games last year, I think he would already be in consideration to be a top 5 or top 10 pick. And I expect that to only move up. The question will be if Arch does what people expect, and he's looked at as the first pick of the 2026 NFL draft, will he go back to college and get another year of seasoning? Maybe it depends on who's picking first. There's a lot of things in play with Arch Manning. I expect him to have a great year. I think Texas is set up for him to have a great year. Does that translate to him leaving early? I think that's to be determined. I think it's probably 60-40 that he goes back to Texas, 40% chance he goes to the NFL. But if you already know you're going to be the first pick in the draft, I think it changes the narrative a little bit. But for Arch, finance aspect is not really a concern. Plus with the NIL money, I don't think that's in play. So it's really, does he want to risk going back to school if he already knows he's the first pick in the draft to try to fine tune his skills and get more seasoning? It's possible, but does the narrative change at the end of the year? I do think that is also possible as well. So I think he should be on most people's ranks. He should be talked about right now as possibly a part of the 2026 NFL draft. Next up, John Mateer out of Oklahoma. He's a junior. He's 6'1", 225 pounds. Last year, while he was at Washington State, he had 3,139 yards passing with a 63.7 completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He also had 826 yards rushing and 15 touchdowns. So very dual threat capabilities here. A lot of work on the ground, but also good passing numbers as well. I have a round 1 to mid round 2 grade on him right now. I think he's got the upside traits to become a starting quarterback, best in a spread offense that utilizes RPO concepts as well, and gets the quarterback out on the move, moving that launch point a lot as well. So similar to what I talked about before with Case Klubnik. Average size, good frame, great athleticism, movement skills, rushing ability, and mobility with the ability to play off structure and throw on the run. Very good arm talent in terms of his velocity and strength, throw from different arm angles and platforms, quick release, good pocket movement and presence. For Mateer, this year is all about cleaning up inconsistencies. There's inconsistent decision-making. There's inconsistent mechanics. There's inconsistent accuracy and ball placement. At times, he's too aggressive. He's got to be a little bit smarter with his decision-making. And that footwork, that's up and down inconsistency of that, especially when he's trying to handle pressure as well. Some of the footwork is a little out of whack. So a lot of inconsistencies. But if he turns any of those inconsistencies into more consistent, and I think there's a real possibility he can, I think we're talking about a guy who's got a real shot to go in round 1 of the NFL draft. So very intrigued with John Mateer's game transferring to the NFL. I think he checks off the boxes. Obviously, you would love that 6'1" to be 6'3", but we've seen quarterbacks more recently in that 6'1", 6'2" range be just fine at the next level. I do not think it is nearly as much of a deterrent as it used to be from the eyes of evaluators and in terms of having success at the next level. And I do like that he already comes in at 225 pounds. So he's a very sturdy player who could handle the rigors. Don't need to see him add that and play at a different a different frame, and shows the ability to withstand a lot of rushing work, as we saw him add 15 touchdowns last year on the ground. So a lot to like about Mateer's game. Right now, he is my number 7 quarterback, and I think he's got a real shot to push his way into the round 1 mix as well. Next up, let's keep this going. Another really fun and exciting prospect, and that is Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. He's the redshirt junior. He's 6'5", 235 pounds. Last year, playing for the Cal Bears, he had 3,004 passing yards, 68.7 completion percentage, 16 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. I have a round 1 grade on him right now. I think he profiles as a future starting quarterback in the NFL. He's got great size and frame, good athleticism to throw on the run and playoff structure. He's got very good arm talent in terms of his velocity and strength to make tight window throws. He shows good accuracy and ball placement to all 3 levels of the football field. He's got great touch and anticipation on his throws. He's got a quick release, good working through progressions and mental processing. Things that I want to see him improve upon this year, especially as he transfers to Indiana. I think this offense is really going to set him up to put up a monster statistical year. How does he handle pressure? I want to see him improve in that area. He took way too many sacks last year. He's got to cut that down. That's also showing his ability to handle pressure. There's some inconsistent footwork that I want to see him clean up, and I don't want to see him leave the pocket too quickly. He's got to – I like that he uses athleticism, but I also want to see him learn to play from the pocket, more consistency, because you know that's key to being a high-level quarterback prospect. It's great to have the athleticism. It's great to have the dual threat ability and the mobility, but you've got to also make sure you stand in that pocket, work through progressions, and don't leave the pocket as soon as your first read, isn't there, because that will limit the ceiling and the upside you have at the next level. Next up, Miller Moss, now out of LSU, formerly of USC. He's a senior. He's 6'1", 213 pounds. Last year for USC, he had 2,555 yards passing, 64.4 completion percentage, 18 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. Right now, I have an early day grade on him. He profiles a backup quarterback, best in a West Coast or spread offense. Average size and frame for Miller Moss. Average arm talent in terms of velocity and strength, but he does throw with really good touch and anticipation. He's a good mental processor, shows good pocket presence. He works through his progressions quickly. He has clean footwork, quick release, good mechanics, and he shows good poise under pressure. Areas that I think why he gets pushed to the early day grade for me. You don't see a lot of athleticism. You don't see a lot of mobility. You don't see a lot of playing off structure. I think he's got some ball security issues in terms of decision-making leading to interceptions, also some fumble stuff. So you want to see him clean up those ball security issues as well. There were glimpses last year that he looked like he was ticketed to be a top 50 pick in the 2025 NFL draft, but there was just a lot of up and down. And now transferring away from USC, I'm not sure. Like, he goes from a great – I think he's going to be fine. I think the Louisville offense will put up good numbers. We just saw Tyler Shuck put up great numbers there, but he's coming from one of the best play callers in all of college football. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit there and say it's an upgrade going from the USC offense to the Louisville offense. I do think he'll have a chance to still be the focal point of that Louisville offense and put up good numbers, but he's coming from USC, which is looked at as maybe one of the best situations for a quarterback. So I don't think that's going to be an upgrade in terms of the transfer. We'll see how he performs in the new situation there and see if he can get back into the mix to be maybe a day 2 prospect. But right now I feel comfortable looking at him as more of a round 4, round 5 prospect. Next up, Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. He's the senior, 6'1", 204 pounds. Last year for LSU, he threw for 4,052 yards with a 64.2 completion percentage, 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. There is a lot to like about Nussmeier's game. Most people probably have him ahead of 5 in their rankings. I just think the other prospects that I have ranked 1 through 4 offer a little bit more upside and ceiling, which is the only reason why that pushed Nussmeier down. If any of those guys don't come out, I think Nussmeier, has a real chance to be the QB1 in next year's class, depending on who declares and who doesn't. What I like, I profile him as a starting quarterback, give him a round 1 grade. Average size and frame, athleticism and mobility is just average. I think the arm talent is just average in terms of the velocity and strength, but he will attack tight windows. He's got very good accuracy and ball placement. He can throw on the run. He's got great touch, great anticipatory thrower. He's got a quick release, very good mental processing and working through progressions, and he shows good toughness in the pocket and good footwork. Things that I want to see him improve upon, 12 interceptions. That's got to come way down. He's got to cut that down. So inconsistency in terms of the decision-making, do a better job at, not turning the ball over there. I think those are the biggest areas that I want to see improve from Garrett Nussmeier at the next level. What's really interesting, what makes me, is while he's not highly athletic and he's not going to be a guy who picks up a lot in terms of his rushing ability, he does show enough mobility. And then he does show, for a player who's not that athletic, he shows a decent amount of throws where he is playing off structure and throwing on the move, which makes him a really interesting prospect. Because usually with people with his athletic profile, you don't see a lot of playing off structure. You don't see a lot of throwing on the run. But there's a lot of that in Garrett Nussmeier's game. You could see if he hits his ceiling outcome, and this is ceiling, you could see some glimpses of Tony Romo, because Tony Romo had that in his repertoire too. Tony Romo was not a guy who was picking up a lot of yards on the ground. Tony Romo was not a guy who would have ran a fast 40. He was not that mobile, but he did a really good job navigating the pocket, and he was unbelievable at throwing on the run. And I think if Nussmeier hits His ceiling outcome is a Tony Romo-like player, which any team would love to sign, and they would look at him as a franchise quarterback. Because, as a Giant fan, I respect the hell out of Tony Romo. I think he's one of the more underappreciated quarterbacks in my life in terms of watching. That I don't think people realize just how good he was. And obviously, Dallas never got over the hump. There were some moments that kind of lingered in Tony Romo's career, but he was a really damn good quarterback. And I think Nussmeier, if he hits, there's some Tony Romo to his game, because Romo had that uncanny ability to play off structure and throw on the move, even though he wasn't a very athletic player. Nussmeier offers a lot of those same traits as well. Next up, two players left to kind of talk about. Next up is Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. He's a senior, 6'3", 218 pounds. Last year, he threw for 3,071 yards, 62.2 completion percentage, 28 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Also added in 230 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. I have a round 3, round 4 grade on him right now. Backup quarterback, but he's got some upside traits to develop into a starter. Good size and frame, above average athleticism and mobility to pick up yards rushing and throw on the move. He's got good arm talent in terms of his velocity and strength. He shows good anticipation in terms of throwing. He's got good footwork, good pocket presence, shows good competitive toughness in the pocket, willing to stand tall in the pocket. I think the accuracy in the ball placement is probably just average right now. Things that I want to see him improve upon. You don't see a lot of touch throws. So I want to see more touch, more ability this year to throw a touch. There's a lot of inconsistencies in his game. I want to see some of that cleaned up, a little bit more consistent overall. And I think there's definitely some vertical ball placement and accuracy concerns that while he has the talent to make those throws, you just don't see him accurate nearly enough to be consistent doing that. So I want to see some more consistency in terms of his vertical ball placement and accuracy. And last but not least, my number 2 ranked quarterback, only behind Arch Manning. I don't know if he's coming out either, similar to Arch, and that is Lenora Sellers out of South Carolina. He's a redshirt sophomore, 6'3", 235 pounds. Last year, he passed for 2,535 yards, 65.6 completion percentage, 18 passing touchdowns with 7 interceptions, had 674 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. We're talking about a dual threat quarterback. Think young Dak Prescott, but more athleticism. Think a Dante Culpepper-like player. That's kind of the guy we're talking about here in terms of size, frame, arm talent, rushing ability, athleticism. I look at him. I think he's a round 1 lock if he continues to show improvement and development. I think he's a starting quarterback upside in a spread offense that incorporates a lot of RPO concepts. He's got good size, great frame, very good to great athleticism, especially at 235, shows good movement skills, rushing ability and mobility. He shows agility and elusiveness in the open field. You do not see that from quarterbacks 235 pounds. You could even say right now there's some Cam Newton to his game. So whether you want to think young Dante Culpepper, young Dak Prescott, Cam Newton might even be a better comp in terms of his rushing capabilities. But the other guys I looked at as a little as similar in terms of the passing aspect of it, what they were coming out of college. Very good arm talent in terms of velocity and strength. He can throw on the run. He can play off structure. For a guy who's still got a lot of work to do in the quarterbacking aspect, he also throws a really good touch, which you don't usually see that. So I like that aspect of his game. He's got great play strength and toughness. What I want to see improve in the passing aspect this year, more anticipatory throws. Show a little bit cleaner and faster in terms of working through progressions, some improvement in terms of his overall pocket awareness or his mental processing, clean up the decision-making inconsistencies. How does he do handling pressure? Does he just immediately take off after his first read, especially if he's handling pressure, or can he quickly get to his second or third read while he's still in the pocket? And some footwork issues that you want to see him clean up a little bit. But all those things that I talked about in terms of the developmental areas, I think they're all things that could improve upon, whether it's at the end of this year, whether it's 2 more years in college, whatever the case may be. But if he improves a little bit in those areas I just talked about, he's going to be looked at as a top 10, top 15 type quarterback prospect. He just is. The physical traits are even higher than Arch Manning. The physical traits, the arm talent, athleticism blended together that Sellers offers is really special. We saw Anthony Richardson. I know that hasn't worked out. It probably never will. We'll see if he ever gets another opportunity. I don't think it'll be Indianapolis, but we saw Anthony Richardson go in the top 5 of the NFL draft, right? So Lenora Sellers could be a top 5 or top 10 pick based on those physical traits. And I just think he's already more refined based on the film I've seen than what Richardson was. And I was a Richardson guy, and I was all about him coming out and being a top 5, top 10 quarterback prospect because you're looking for that ceiling play. I think Sellers is already a more refined player than Anthony Richardson was when he came out. So that makes me really intrigued by his overall game. So there it is, guys. My 13 scouting reports on my top 13 quarterbacks initially for the 2026 NFL Draft. Let me run through the rankings one more time before I conclude with the watch list. We have Arch Manning, number 1, out of Texas. Number 2, Lenora Sellers, out of South Carolina. Number 3, Fernando Mendoza, now of Indiana. Number 4, Cade Klubnik, out of Clemson. Number 5, Garrett Nussmeier, out of LSU. Number 6, Drew Aller, out of Penn State. All 6 of those guys I think could be round 1 type prospects. Number 7 is John Mateer out of Oklahoma. Number 8 is Sam Levitt out of Arizona State. I have a late round 1, early round 2 on those 2 guys. So that's 8 guys that I have potentially round 1 consideration for. Number 9 is Carson Beck out of Miami. Number 10 is Nico Amalavea out of UCLA. Number 11, Josh Hoover out of TCU. Number 12, Miller Moss, now of Louisville. And number 13, Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. Those are just 13 guys I've done a detailed scouting report on. Obviously, I also mentioned in the scouting notebook, you'll also see Jalen Daniels, Connor Wegman, Noah Fafita, and Tyler Van Dyke. These are some guys that I have not done detailed full scouting reports on yet, but I'm intrigued by aspects of their game. So these are the guys that are on my quarterback watch list to start the year. Luke Altmaier out of Illinois, Byron Brown out of South Florida, Rocco Beck out of Iowa State, Zach Calzada out of Kentucky, Aiden Chiles out of Michigan State, Jaden Craig out of Harvard, Kyron Drones out of Virginia Tech, Billy Edwards Jr. out of Wisconsin, Walker Eggett out of San Jose State, Taylor Green out of Arkansas, Mark Gronowski out of Iowa, Eli Holston out of Pittsburgh, Haynes King out of Georgia Tech, Grayson James out of Boston College, Avery Johnson out of Kansas State, Chase Mason out of South Dakota State, Maverick McKiver out of Western Kentucky, Darian Mensah out of Duke, Baron Morton out of Texas Tech, Diego Pavia out of Vanderbilt, Caden Salter out of Colorado, Blake Shapen out of Mississippi State, Ty Simpson out of Alabama, Brendan Sorsby out of Cincinnati, and Jack Strand out of Minnesota State Moorhead. The 2 guys that are on my watch list. If I was going to do 2 more detailed scouting reports and get the 15, didn't get a chance to, but if the 2 guys that are on my radar that could potentially be the first 2 quarterbacks I do a full deep dive on and get them in the scouting notebook, one is Rocco Beck out of Iowa State, and the second one is Avery Johnson out of Kansas State. And those 2 matched up against each other this past weekend when Iowa State and Kansas State played to kick off week 0. So those are the 2 guys that are on my watch list, that are at the top of my watch list in terms of guys that I could have easily put them in my rankings. They probably would have sat at 14 or 15 in my rankings right after Sawyer Robertson. But I just didn't get a chance to do a full deep dive yet. So didn't feel comfortable putting them in the rankings just yet or writing up a full scouting report on them. But those are the 2 guys I'm watching closest as this college football season kicks off. So there it is, guys. Detailed quarterback rankings initially for the 2026 NFL Draft. If you're enjoying this content, get back and listen to the 3 previous episodes. I think you will find them extremely useful with the college football season kicking into real full gear upcoming Labor Day weekend here with week 1. I think they're a great way to stay on top of things in your Devy leagues, a great way to start looking ahead to your dynasty rookie drafts next year, because I already know that I think the 26 rookie class is going to be a down for offensive skill players unless you need quarterbacks. So I think dynasty rookie picks are going to be a little devalued next year, but a lot of people might not know that yet. So looking at things way in advance, I think gives you a leg up on a lot of your competition in those dynasty leagues. Obviously, I think it has the potential to be a very strong quarterback class. Do not look at it as a class that's going to be very strong in terms of the running back, wide receivers, and tight ends. Obviously, a lot can change. These are just my initial ranks. If you're enjoying this content, get over to the website, SS Football. Fastest and easiest way to get there. Check out the premium content tab. Within the next day or so, that is going to be the new wave. The 2026 notebooks, premium notebooks, are going to be available. All my scouting reports that I've been talking about on the 4 previous episodes are going to be there. They'll be updated in real time during the year. So many new names added to that mix. So much updated and more players added in the pre-draft months as well. So it is not a stagnant document. You might say, why do I want a 2026 like NFL draft thing now? things are going to change so much. Of course they are. It's just why I do it in a Google document, a live breathing document that can be edited on the fly. There might be times you're looking at it and I'm working on it and you'll see me in there, like literally changing things in real time. I don't want it to be a stat. It's why it's not a PDF file. It's why it's not on a website that has to be, a lot harder to update on the reg. The Google aspect of it allows me to really make quick updates from my phone, my iPad, my laptop. Very easy to adjust things regularly throughout the year. And all of the new wave of notebooks will go live within the next 24 hours or so. I will have a very short 15-minute podcast or so, just kind of sharing all the aspects of this premium notebooks. If you are new here to Saturday, Sunday, and are not familiar with what the $9.99 gets you for the premium notebooks. So on behalf of my sound tech engineer, David Nakano, and myself, thank you for joining us. And we look forward next time taking you from Saturday to Sunday.